I worked in the Asia region as a coordinator for the Regional Enforcement Network project, which was implemented by UN Environment in 25 countries in the Asia-Pacific region, which was mainly focused on the enforcement by custom officers in cooperation with environmental authorities on illegal waste shipments. So not only e-waste shipments, but also all kinds of waste, and including also ODS shipments. So actually Basel, Rotterdam, Stockholm conventions, including the Montreal Protocol. Further, I'm working for the Dutch government, for the Dutch Environmental Inspectorate, quite for a long time already, and involved in many, mainly focused on waste exports from the European Union to destinations outside Europe, such as Africa and Asia-Pacific region. There is a difference in legislation in the countries itself here. Some countries are prohibited all kinds of e-waste, so hazardous and non-hazardous. And other countries, they are allowing the non-hazardous e-waste. So you often see that waste from Europe is being exported to countries, at least in the documents, who are allowing the import over here. But when we go dig into it and do some inspections and ask for more information, then you often see that the waste actually is ending up in countries who prohibited the imports. So you have a lot of false declarations and a lot of smuggling routes actually within this region. It should be, first of all, in national cooperation between different agencies. So the environmental authorities need to cooperate with environmental inspectors, inspection agencies, but also with customs and other people who are dealing with the control on imports. There must be clear legislation. First of all, the legislation needs to be in place before you can do any enforcement activities. So it needs to be, the Basel Convention, for example, need to be implemented in national law. Further, it should be a kind of a level playing field so that you have the same legislation in other countries as well. If one country is banning the import of certain types of waste, if it's e-waste or another type of waste, what you will see is that the waste will go to other countries in the same region with which have not banned the import. But it's always going to places where you don't want to have certain types of waste, or there are no licensed facilities or no proper legislation in place. So when one country is putting a lot of efforts in putting a ban on some types of waste, please be aware that it's not going to other countries where you don't want to have this the same issue actually. I think it's a very good initiative for capacity building for people with a different background. You have the policymakers and you also have the private sector. So it's always good that people are knowing each other, and preferable maybe from the same country, so that recyclers are aware of the policymakers, that they know each other, so that they can, if there are some questions or when there are some issues, that they can have a proper conversation and communicate with each other. And such events are always helping. Further, I'm learning a lot as well, because it's quite complicated, and I also have some concerns if all the standards we are using, for example in Europe, if you can simply implement them in countries in this region, and I think that will be a main challenge. So for capacity building, awareness raising, I think it's a very good initiative, but a lot needs to be done in the countries themselves by implementation. And I think the countries need some more support than just having a meeting here with on the e-waste academy, but I think they need more support in the countries themselves as well to implement all standards and legislations. Well, what we are seeing is, like I said, some countries have banned certain types of waste. So you always see kind of smuggling to other places. And if we do some research or investigations to see where the waste is ending up, actually, it's always to places where you don't want to have them. For example, there were some famous spots in China where a lot of e-waste was being dismantled in a not very environmentally friendly way, and also people are being affected by all kinds of, well, let's say informal recycling. And I think due to awareness raising, capacity building, but also due to enforcement, you see that has changed. So normally we are working with authorities. We make them aware about what is happening, and it took some years, but at the end, the authorities became aware of it, took responsibility, and took enforcement actions on it, actually. And then you see that those routes are stopped. And to be honest, certain countries are still dealing with some issues which have started already 5 or 6 years ago. And there are thousands of abandoned containers in this region due to enforcement activities in certain countries on waste, actually. So when one country is taking enforcement actions or have a ban, you will see that in other countries are being affected. And we are aware that in several countries in the region, there are really thousands of containers with waste, not only waste, but waste which are still in the ports. Nobody is claiming them. So it's waiting maybe for some environmental issues around it or hazardous situations. So it's not bad, but there has to find a solution. Somebody needs to come up with a solution to solve this issue.